Good morning, Stacy Glasgow bringing you the daily devotional. This devotional comes from a book called Everyday Holy, Finding a Big God in the Little Moments by Melanie Schenkel. God is not old. Over the last month, I've felt fear and worry well up in me time and time again. And I don't really talk about it because it's not fun to talk about. I'd rather talk about things like cute shoes, my hair, and that everything is 40% off at the Gap right now. The important things in life. I think I'm beginning to realize that we never really arrive at some incredible destination of perfect peace and tranquility. It's a daily dependence on God, trusting and knowing that He can meet all my needs and has a great plan for my life. I know it, yet I'm quick to fall into the old pattern and forget. I've thought so much about Paul's words in Philippians. Not that I have already obtained all of this or have already arrived at my goal, but I press on to take hold of that for which Jesus Christ took hold of me. I'm quick to get bogged down in the what-ifs, to worry and fret over things that are ultimately out of my control anyway, to try to come up with my own solutions and totally discount His sovereignty in all situations. I worry that I'll regret not having another baby. I wonder if Caroline will grow up to be happy and normal without a sibling. Who will she roll her eyes at when I say something embarrassing? Which is inevitable, by the way. I worry about our finances and if we're going to owe money to the IRS this year. I worry that we're not saving enough for our future. I worry that our property taxes are going through the roof now that the neighbors have built the Taj Mahal next door. I worry about Perry and me flying somewhere together because what if something happens? I worry about Caroline and if I'm raising her to the best of my ability. I have days when my patience reaches its limits, and then I feel guilty, and then I worry about feeling guilty. I worry because I'm speaking to a group of women in a few weeks, and I don't know if I'll have anything to say beyond, "Hey y'all, what's up?" What if I fail? What if I screw it all up? What if I've heard God wrong? So basically on some days, I'm the definition of a mess. I've just given you a lot of information right there. I feel a little like that episode of Seinfeld where George bares his soul to Jerry and then says, "That is who I am and everything I am capable of." My point is that I don't have it all together, and I have days that just really stink. But I try not to focus on those things because most of the time I try to refrain from hosting my own party full of woe and pity. A few weeks ago, I sat across a room from our former housekeeper, Kata. She is 67 years old and has cleaned houses for most of her life. A month earlier, she and her husband lost their home and much of what they owned in a house fire. They have no insurance, yet I sat there and listened to Kata tell me in broken English how blessed she felt and how God has been faithful to provide throughout her entire ordeal. She looked at me with joy in her eyes and said, "Melanie, God is not old. He is still working." How much do I love that she said God is not old. It totally makes me think of when God asked Moses, Is the Lord's arm too short? Numbers 11:23. God is not old, and His arm is not too short. I've been in a season of life where I often feel easily overwhelmed. After my conversation with Kata, I got on my knees and prayed about all of my fears, doubts, and worries. Why don't I trust You the way I should? Why do I go back to that place of relying on my own power? Why do I let fear overtake me? When will I be the person I wish I could be? I didn't get an answer. But a few days later, I was walking my dogs down to an empty field by our house to let them run. I stood there watching them and noticed one lone bluebonnet sprouting up in the middle of the field. I know from past years that in another week the entire field will be covered in bluebonnets, but for now, there's just that one. I felt God say to me in the still small place in my heart, "My girl, that is how it sometimes happens. After a long winter, spring doesn't happen all at once. It happens one flower at a time. I make all things beautiful, one flower at a time." And that was the reminder I needed that God is not old. He is always at work, even when it may not seem obvious to us at first. Have a great week.